Now we can do the following question. Why things go right? Think about it. We can try to draw a model of why things go right and why things go wrong. First, we can say that something functions when it works as expected. In general, people tend to think that the success is when everything works as designed. That means that there are no malfunctions, there are no mistakes, there are no errors. Everybody involved followed the procedures. Basically, that everything led to lead to success. So here you have the success that is the only acceptable outcome. Is what safety wants to achieve. But sometimes that's not possible. We have to be open to the malfunctions. Malfunctions means that the system is not working properly. And with malfunctions, we can say a lot of things, like non-compliance with the procedures, somebody made a mistake, like closing a valve that should be left open, errors, latent or active errors that we have already mentioned and we will mention in the future. But remembering, the active errors are the ones that produces events, and the latent ones are the ones that are there and you only see them when there is an error. So all these just can lead to failure in form of accidents or incidents. Basically, what we can say is that somebody made something or somebody happened that led us to an accident. This is really an unacceptable outcome. And if we look here, this is a binomial logic. Something is successful when everything works, and there is nothing to do with that. And something fails when something goes wrong, and then it's when you actuate. So if we look here, we see that there are a lot of words like accidents, failures, malfunctions, non-compliance, harm, fatalities, injuries, whatever. This, if you think about it, is a really negative vocabulary. And what we are trying to do is define something that is positive. Because safety is positive. It's what we want to achieve. It's our goal. So basically, since the beginning of the human factors, the actions are always to wait until there is a failure and then investigate what happened in order to discover why things went wrong. So it's negative. Once again, we are trying to define something that is positive. Because all this, at the end, provokes that people are defensive against safety. They are not going to be cooperative. In order to change all those negative terms, or all those negative consequences or actions, we have set a lot of protections, as we said, using the cheese model. So we have barriers, regulations, procedures, standards. You have to compliance with all the procedures and standards. Somebody said that this is what we can call war on error. In fact, safety 1 is something that has to go wrong in order to be able to fix it. If not, we won't be able to improve. So, as I said, it's war on error, and we are going against those things. We have to eliminate the malfunctions, and we have to eliminate the failures. This has worked during years and years, but if we look at this graphic, we will see that the number of incidents reduces when you have more safety actions. Or that's the safety effort is to reduce, you have more safety efforts and you reduce the incidents. So we achieve in time lowering the number of cases when the system goes wrong. So the lower number of adverse events is the safest the system is. From this point of view, we don't start to work until there is not a negative outcome, until there is not an absence of safety. A higher measure of safety is the lower number of adverse events. It is not good from the point of view of control, real-time control, for example, because any control needs to have a feedback. Any control needs to know if things are going well or not, if we have to accommodate somehow or not. But here we don't have control because basically we are eliminating all the feedback. So it's not good, safety one is not good from the control perspective. Also, we can say that it is increasingly slow, Why? Because as we have a safer system, we have less events. So when we have few events to fix, we are not going to be ready to anticipate or to fix things. Another thing is that it's reactive. That means that we are trying to fix our future success based on past models and past events, not in things that are happening all the time. Also, what I said before, we have a really negative vocabulary when defining safety. And this is going to create defensiveness in everybody who otherwise would be involved in safety. Workers have to be proactive in order to improve safety. And what we are going to do with all this is pushing them away. And finally, we can define safety, or according to safety one, safety is precisely the absence of positive outcomes. It is somehow the opposite of what people think about, or people think is safety. People think something is safe when you go well to your places on your car, not like having an accident. That's not safe. So it's not a really good philosophy to use only this. So we can recap. And the question is, why do we need to change? So the premises for safety management in today's industrial world can be summarized like you can see here. First, safety one is based on systems can be decomposed in a meaningful way. That means that we can divide all the different parts of a system, analyze them, and then we will understand how that system works. This philosophy worked pretty well at the beginning of the age of technology because, in general, systems were, or machinery was less complex. But now we have a lot of different and complex systems like a nuclear power plant with all the operation systems, etc. Or if you think air traffic management, you have a lot of different levels, a lot of planes. You have to have a special safety. Also in oil drilling activities, you have to have a lot of protections, people have to be involved, etc. Now the systems are more and more complex. So that's the first thing that we can call weakness. Also, system functions are not bimodal. As we have said before, safety one is based on success and failures. So both of them comes from human performance variability. sometimes is the key to have one or two. So, as we have said, outcomes emerge from human performance variability, while some adverse outcomes can be attributed to failures and malfunctions. Others are best understood as human variability. And finally, we have to have all those things in mind. And we are going to try to build something more positive, something different. As I have said before, not opposing to this, but complementing safety one. And that's what Professor Hosnagel defined as safety 2. And he started to use it in health care. So let's go with that now.